Well, hello everyone, and happy Earth Week. My name is Avril Saunders, and I am from Avnet Inc. And today I will be speaking to you all about my sustainability journey. So, my initial interest in science really stemmed from my childhood of playing outside in the world around me. As a kid, some of the questions I would ask were, where does the rain come from? Why is the sky blue? Why is the grass green? You may have even asked these questions yourself. I was always curious about how the earth works. Many of my hobbies today still reflect those interests. I enjoy hiking, biking, traveling to different places, and also kayaking. I also love taking pictures and capturing nature shots too. So you see here, there's a picture of me at one of my favorite hiking trips to the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. And then the picture of the butterfly on the flower is an image that I took with my camera at a botanical garden in Minnesota. Because I was so interested in nature outside of school, it was really easy for me to like science subjects in school. Earth science was my favorite subject in elementary school. It was the earth science classes that gave me the answers to those initial questions that I had about where the rain comes from and why the sky is blue and the grass is green. In college, I then discovered my next favorite subject, which is environmental science. And that takes the basics of earth science and applies them to how people like you and me interact and affect the environment. I've also had lots of opportunities to learn about science and the environment outside of the classroom as well. I've been able to travel to places like California, New York, and Washington, D.C. to conduct environmental research. I once spent 3 weeks in the northern region of New York at a science camp where I learned to build a microscope. At the camp, we injected a rat brain with glow in the dark light, and then we cut the brain into different thicknesses, and we were able to view the brain segments under the microscope that we made. I've also had the opportunity to share my research at science fairs, where hundreds of students and professors at colleges and universities learn about new research and also share their own research. So here you see one photo of me in a stream where I'm conducting one of my research projects. I was collecting samples to understand how healthy the water was in this stream. And then the second photo was taken when I was a sustainability student at Indiana University, and I was presenting another research project. After graduating from school, I was able to start my career in science and sustainability. And as I mentioned, I currently work at a company called Avnet Incorporated or Avnet Inc. Avnet is a company that sells electronic parts. So think about all the parts that come together to make your phones, your computers, and your video games. Avnet sells those parts to companies that build the technology products that you use every day. Avnet is based in Phoenix, Arizona, but has over 250 locations all over the world. And so here you see is an image of the front of the Phoenix office. I currently live and work in Texas, but I do travel to the Phoenix office at least once a year. My role at Avnet is a sustainability business analyst, and I've been in this role for about 2 years. In my role, I lead the collection of energy, water, and waste data for Avnet's global locations. With that data, I'm able to understand how much environmental resources Avnet is using and to find ways to reduce its environmental impact. I also get to share and educate other Avnet employees about sustainability as well. So some of the facts and figures that I get to share with our employees include like what you see here. In 2021, Avnet consumed over 43 million gallons of water, which is enough to fill almost 70 Olympic-sized pools, which is a lot of water. So educating our employees helps spread the word about Avnet's environmental impact and ways that our employees can be more sustainable too. Avnet has several work streams with ongoing action items to help protect the planet. In 2021, Avnet publicly released its corporate environmental goals to reduce its environmental impact. We continuously monitor energy and emissions at our global facilities, especially at our large warehouses and distribution centers. We're currently developing strategies to increase our renewable energy, reduce our emissions and our waste, and to communicate our environmental progress to our stakeholders, which are our customers, suppliers, and employees. So there are many ways that you can participate in sustainability. You don't have to wait until you're finished with school to positively impact the environment. And so I'll share one personal example of when I was in high school, I had a part-time job at a local pharmacy. Each day, I would see pill bottles, like you see here, thrown into the trash when a patient would come in with their old pill bottles and they requested a refill. And my family is originally from the country Liberia, which is in West Africa. In Liberia, not everyone has access to pill bottles to store their medication. Most people get their medications either in their hands or their bags or paper towels, which isn't very sanitary. So after seeing these bottles at my local pharmacy go into the trash, I decided that I was going to collect pill bottles. I was going to take them home, clean them, and send them to Liberia. I ended up spreading the word within my community to set up pill bottle collection sites around town. And then my parents sent the pill bottles in one large barrel from Minnesota to Liberia, which you see here on the map. Here you can also see me with me sitting in the box with the pill bottles before they got shipped. I ended up naming the program PILLS, or People Inventing Lifelong Solutions. So at the time, I didn't know of the word sustainability, nor was I a sustainability professional like I am today. All I did was make an observation and see that there is an opportunity to reuse a resource while helping others, which is exactly what sustainability is. So in my last slide, I decided that I'll share some sustainability tips that you can do every day. You can reduce water by turning off your faucets while brushing your teeth. You can recycle your homework papers to reduce waste. Save energy by turning off your electronics when you're not using them. And lastly, I would encourage you to spend some time outside and appreciate nature. When you're outdoors, pay attention to your surroundings. Make observations and ask questions like I did about the rain, the sky, and the grass. And then I encourage you to see if you can find out the answers to your questions, either while you're in school or by doing your own research. Enjoying the environment and protecting it is something that we can all do to create a sustainable future. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for your time today and see if anyone has any questions.
Thanks so much, Avril. Can we go with the next presenter and then
Yes.
we can open up to more questions? Yeah, thanks so much.
Okay, I'll make sure to speak loudly so you can hear me. My name is Beverly Canham, and I am Intel's Chemical Footprint Program Manager. So when I say that, I'm not sure if that makes sense, like what that means. So chemical footprint, a chemical, people know what it is. It's something that we need to use in order to do a function. But what does a footprint mean? And it's literally like, I'm not like stomping around with my feet, but footprint is looking at the impact or the hazard or the amount of chemistry that we're using. So if I think about what that is, it's sustainability. So when you think about sustainability, what kind of words come to mind? And you can go ahead and just shout it out and we'll see what kind of words we're hearing.
Stable.
Stable, okay, yeah.
Energy, transport.
Yep, some of the things that were on here. So we're looking at the amount of energy we use, the amount of water we use, how far things need to go transportation. So sustainability is the area where I work. And so I get to work on a lot of different aspects. I have friends who work at Intel who work specifically on energy. We have ones who work on water. We have ones work on waste, greenhouse gas emissions, and all of those things. Me specifically, I have a chemical engineering background and I work on the chemical footprint. So another way of looking at sustainability is, I like this definition because it's meeting our needs without compromising the ability for future generations to meet their needs. So that means I want to make sure that just because I'm using things now, that doesn't mean that when you guys grow up, there's not resources for when you grow up or when you have kids or your kids have kids. So that's one definition. Another one that I like is balance between economic growth, environmental care, and social well-being. What that means, again, is that when we use resources, it shouldn't have a deficit. It shouldn't be somebody else can't use those resources. So has anybody ever seen the UN Sustainable Development Goals? If so, just raise your hand. Anybody seen them? Okay, cool. So the UN Sustainable Development Goals are a series of 17 goals that the United Nations came up with and said, these are really important things. And there's things like we can all agree on, no poverty. That's a really great goal. Or zero hunger. And there's things that are impacting people like in their daily lives and they're impacting the world as a whole. So in my role at Intel, we get to work on number 12 and number 13, which is responsible consumption and production, and also climate action. So just like I was talking about, using what you need. Okay, so I'm going to use a big term here, multivariate engineering problem. Really what this is what you do every day. You go this or that, this or that. You make decisions based on the information that you have. So let me ask you a question. If I said that we could use a certain chemical, but it's hazardous, or I could use 10 times more of a less hazardous chemical, which would you choose? Would you choose the hazardous chemical or 10 times more of a less hazardous chemical? So go ahead, and if you think it's use the hazardous chemical, raise your hand. Okay, I got a couple few brave ones out there. What about the less hazardous chemical? Yeah, okay, so that's kind of what I expected everybody to say. But let me ask you some questions here. If I told you that 10 times less hazardous chemical meant that there was 10 times more waste, more garbage, would that be still good? What happens if I told you that we have treatment systems, ways to remove that chemistry from the water or the waste? For the hazardous chemical, but we don't have it for the non-hazardous chemical. So we're able to remove it out there. Or what happens about we'd have 10 times more trucks on the road because we have to use 10 times more chemistry? Would that change your way of thinking about it? So now that I've said that, would you still vote for the hazardous chemical or the less hazardous chemical? Did anybody's vote change?
Anybody change?
Yeah. And that's what I have to do as a chemical footprint program manager is we actually have to look at those kind of questions. And it may be volume or hazard, or it could be something called global warming potential, which is the amount of how a chemistry sticks in the air, or human health, or if something's circular, which means it can be recycled, or whether or not it enables technology. So those are all of those kind of questions. And we've got these teeter-totters all over the place about I could choose this or I could choose this. And it ends up being that it's like a 10-seat teeter-totter sometimes. But what does it actually mean in your life as a kid? It's about choices. So here's one of those things. Like, let's say you spilled your milk. Okay, so you have milk all over the table. Do you reach for a Clorox wipe or do you reach for soap and water? So the Clorox wipe has a chemical in it and the soap and water is a little bit more natural, or maybe you could use vinegar. So the question is when you're looking at something, like, can you use the right chemical or the right technique or the right thing for the job? Maybe you don't always need a Clorox wipe. Well, maybe let's say you just cut raw chicken and you have raw chicken all over the place. I probably would want to use a Clorox wipe for that. Or maybe I could do a natural solution like vinegar, which is a natural acid, and that would also help clean and disinfect. And then I put the picture going down there about like, does anybody else's like under their sink look like this, where you've got like a chemical for bug sprays and a chemical for cleaning and a chemical for the dishwasher tabs and things like that. So all of that complexity of chemistry means that it's hard to treat those wastes. So can you only use one type of chemistry to try to help simplify things? So that's some of the questions, the choices you have there. Okay, the other half of the picture that I'm showing here is, let's say you're going to wash your hair. So there's a couple of questions about sustainability. Do you buy just little tiny bottles, or do you buy something in bulk and then put it into other bottles? So the amount of packaging. So when you go into the store and you say, maybe I'm going to buy the bigger size and then I'm going to use that one for longer, or do I buy just a lot of little plastic bottles? So that's one choice, is the amount of packaging. Okay, but let me even ask a different question. So maybe do you have to wash your hair as often? Maybe if you're washing your hair every day because you're sweaty or you're in sports or you're dancing or it's hot out or you're going swimming, maybe you need to wash your hair every day. But maybe if you're just hanging out at home in the winter, do you need to wash your hair? So that goes to the amount of chemistry. So remember I said chemical footprint is the hazard. That's the stuff kind of on the left-hand side of the picture. And the amount, that's the stuff on the right-hand side. Do you need to use it? And how often? And then when you're in the shower, do you make just like a palm size amount or do you do like a lot of shampoo? So again, that goes back to the volume. So all of those little decisions on there are all sustainable choices. All right, so when I was in 5th grade, I didn't say, hey, I want to be a chemical footprint program manager when I grow up. That was definitely not even on my radar. It's been a journey. It's been circuitous. It's been winding. So I went to the University of Arizona and got a degree in chemical engineering, and then did an internship at Dow Chemical, and they make plastics, and I found out about that industry. And then I also did an internship at Intel and found out about semiconductors and fell in love with the technology and the pace. I joined Intel and also started my master's degree in chemical engineering at ASU. And then, so my first year at Intel, I was learning to be an employee and taking school at night. So I was working and taking school at the same time. But I had a series of different jobs, and the first couple of jobs I had was actually more like a mechanical engineer. Somebody handed me a wrench and said, go fix this tool. So I did that for about 7 years, and I was like, this isn't my passion. I didn't get a degree for this. My passion's chemistry. So I actually moved over into a group that worked on developing chemistry and working with our suppliers. And that was much more to my liking and much more to my degree. After a while, though, I'd been doing the same thing for about 7 years, and I wanted a change. So I went into quality and reliability. I got to figure out why stuff breaks. So that was pretty neat. And then I changed over to something called product regulations. So I was trying to make sure our products were meeting safety criteria across the world. And then now I moved over into regulatory compliance for the chemicals that are coming on site, which means I just need to make sure that the chemicals we use meet the laws. And as of about a year ago, I got to have my dream job, which is being the chemical footprint program manager, which is pretty awesome.
It's time to announce our Lucky Duck winners from yesterday and today.
All right. Do I have a minute to go over some advice?
Yes, please go
Okay.
ahead.
All right. So some advice. Take some time to decide what you want to do when you grow up and be flexible along the way. I said I just got my dream job and I've been working at Intel about 20 years at that point. So it was a long path to get there, but I enjoyed things along the way and I got a chance to learn skills that I absolutely need to use for my job right now. But be flexible. Like I said, I didn't say I want to be a footprint program manager when I started work, but it was something that I was enjoying the path along the way. And you get to own your own career, no matter what your parents say or what your friends say, or even some mentors. They can give you advice, but it's really your own job and your own career. So you have to find your own way there. I do have a degree, but education comes not only from that degree, but also being on the job and having that natural curiosity, asking a lot of questions, meeting with a lot of people, reading a lot of things, just that continual information and learning. And to become a professional tree hugger, like I say that I am, you do need to have some real world experience being like a process engineer or environmental health or safety or other areas. I actually found that having that background was really helpful before I moved into full-time sustainability because it gave me a perspective of like, here's how you make a product, or here's how you make a material, or here's the safety challenges with it.
Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Ben McMahon. I am an engineer in Footprint in Gilbert, Arizona, and I'm going to give a brief background about myself and also Footprint. So to start, just a little bit about myself. I have a background in chemical engineering. So in high school, I really enjoyed chemistry and just wanted to learn about it more. And I took some more classes in college, and I also did some internships, and I decided I wanted to be a chemical engineer, and I liked it so much I decided to get my PhD in chemical engineering from the Georgia Institute of Technology as well. So my background when I graduated from my PhD was in electronic materials. So I started my career at Intel Corporation. So I took materials research background experience that I had, and I took materials from R&D all the way to high volume manufacturing. I am currently at Footprint, and so I do product development for them. So let me tell you a little bit about Footprint and what I do there. So Footprint is a material science company, and we produce sustainable plant-based products to eliminate single-use plastics. So the reason why we want to eliminate single-use plastics is that only about 9% of the plastic ever produced is actually recycled. So that means that most of the plastic ever produced actually winds up either in landfills, or it winds up on the street, or in oceans or rivers. So that's just a lot of waste that we don't want to build up. And also, when you go to either the grocery store or fast food restaurant, most of that food that you buy is packaged in plastic. And so what happens is that plastic actually gets into our foods, and it's not healthy for our bodies. So we don't want to have plastic accumulating on the planet and impacting our earth, and we don't want plastic to impact our health. So at Footprint, we try to make materials that are both good for the planet and healthy for our bodies. So our goals are to create things that are recyclable. So if you want to put it in the recycle bin, you still have that option and it'll still be recyclable. And in the event that it doesn't get recycled and it winds up in the landfill or unfortunately on a street or ocean, we will design these materials to be biodegradable or compostable. So that way we are not accumulating waste. And then we also work to make sure that these products are safe for our bodies as well. So I work with a team of engineers and material scientists. So we want to make products that do all the things that people expect out of a plastic product. So if you buy a plastic cup or a water bottle, you want it to hold liquid, or if you have, for example, you buy bread and it's packaged in plastic, right? You still want it to keep your food safe and do all those things. So we work as a team to solve those problems to make sure that we can make a sustainable solution that hits all of those things that you look for in your plastic product, but it also is made from a plant-based solution, so it's a renewable resource. And then we make sure that we use ingredients that are healthy for our bodies, and that when you're done using it, it is still sustainable for our planet because it's going to either be recyclable or compostable or biodegradable. So that's just a little bit about what we do. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me. And if you want to learn anything more about Footprint, so feel free to look us up on our website, and please reach out if you have any other questions. Thank you so much.